Hey, everybody, welcome to another college conversation. I'm Harlan Cohn, and today I am here with graduates from Sunnyside High School from Sunnyside, Washington, in the Yakima Valley. Three of our students are attending the University of Washington. One is attending Stanford University. Jesus, Alexis, Eric, Karen, welcome. How are you all today?
Good,
Great.
thank you.
Excited.
This is exciting. I know there's a lot going on in your life. You've got a lot of studying to do. It's almost finals, might be finals. Hey, Eric, is it finals for you right now?
Yeah, it's dead week.
It's dead week. Dead week is what, for those who don't know?
So dead week is the week before finals where you're just cramming to study and you really got to get your stuff together. I was about to curse, my bad.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Are you cramming this week, or are you so caught up that you get to just play games?
So with my job right now, it's got me really busy. I'm full time. So I have to make time for my work and studying. So it's a hassle right now.
What kind of job?
I work with CCS, that's Catholic Community Services. They're in the family behavioral health section. So I work as a certified peer counselor for youth.
Oh, wow. Well, that will be exciting to hear. So you see it all and you hear it all, right, Eric?
Yeah, I'm definitely right now I'm in the mental health field, and I'm just navigating it, with the youth. I like to think about I'm also going through it. So, I'm learning with them. Yeah.
Does it make it easier to feel what you're feeling, knowing that other people are going through it?
At times it does, but, I think we each have our own issues and our own ways that we can improve. So it definitely helps to empathize with the youth.
Right. So maybe during our conversation, you'll share some of your issues with us?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I would stick around for that. Well, I'm sticking around no matter what, but I like that. And then you, Eric, you share a house with who? Let's guess. Is it Jesus, Karen, or Alexis?
Yeah. So me and Karen are in a house. No, it's me and Alexis.
You and Alexis.
Yeah.
So you're seniors at the University of Washington and you share a house together.
An apartment. Yeah.
An apartment. And how many people are in your apartment?
5, total 5.
That's great. And you guys have been friends since high school, right?
Yeah, me and I go back since freshman, sophomore year, I believe, of high school.
Wow.
That's
Were you
right.
making trouble at Sunnyside together?
No, we just, do homework and.
We were the good kids. We didn't do bad stuff.
Is that true?
They're lying.
Yeah. I want to hear about the bad stuff.
I don't remember. I don't know if there's anything bad we did together. I can't remember.
You were never suspended?
No, we never suspended. No.
See the principal?
Actually, Alexis is salutatorian. Is that how you say it?
Salutatorian, yeah. But I don't remember doing anything crazy in high school or anything that would expel me. Yeah, I'm just not that kind of.
You're a salutatorian. So awesome. Okay, great. Very good. Well, that's exciting. So we're going to get to visit more with all of you. We're going to get to know Jesus, and we're going to get to know Karen. And Jesus, you're at the University of Washington as well, right?
Correct. Yes.
So what year are you?
I'm a junior, third year.
So how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I've declared my major not too long ago, so I finally found the path that I'm gonna follow for the next year and a half.
Nice. So you're on a track to graduate in 4 years or 4.5?
4.5. I did take a small break after my freshman year, which kind of caused me to. I'm supposed to be a 4th year, but because of the break I took, I'm a 3rd year in standing.
So was that an expected break, or was that kind of a surprise?
Expected, maybe by the end of my freshman year, but definitely a surprise going into college. I did not think I was going to need to take a break.
Oh, good. So, and I say good only because you're back.
Yeah.
And whatever the break was, you needed it, you got through it, and now you're back. And if you're comfortable sharing, I'd love to know about that during our conversation, because
Of course.
that's the real stuff. So that's great. Thank you. So the three of you are at the University of Washington, and you see each other occasionally. You were mentioning you'll give each other high fives, or you'll shake each other's hands, or embrace each other. Is that what happens?
Yeah, something like that.
Sounds so weird the way I say it. So you'll be like, hey, what's up? Because you're Sunnyside, right? You're Sunnyside and you've been through it and you know each other. It's
Yeah,
good.
for sure.
That's good. So then we have Karen as well. Karen is not in Washington. Karen's in California. And where are you, Karen?
So right now I'm at Stanford University, which is in Stanford, California. Yep, here in my dorm room.
That's so cool. And you're a senior?
I am a senior this year. That's correct.
So are you going to graduate this year?
Yes, in June I'll be graduating.
Wow. Do you know what you're going to do next?
I don't, and that's what's very scary. I haven't figured that out yet. I have ideas, but nothing guaranteed, nothing certain.
Okay, well, let's start with that. So, Karen, I would love to know your dreams.
I would like to have a job that I'm comfortable with. I would love to be settled down. Right now, I think I'm really interested in participating or doing a master's program in marriage and family counseling.
And what draws you to marriage and family counseling?
Sure. So I kind of grew up feeling like the mediator in my own family, and I still act as like the unofficial therapist, like for my siblings, for my parents. And I think that personal connection has really like motivated me to research different career paths in counseling, marriage and family specifically.
And have you been able to figure some things out about your family dynamics?
I know a lot about my family dynamics. Yes.
Yeah. And those family dynamics, not only I imagine they relate to your family, perhaps they relate to other families from the area. Would you think? Are there other people who, reflect similar family dynamics?
Growing up, I thought my family was like pretty unique and special. But I think since I left college, my family dynamics really like resonates, I think, with the situation of other families in Sunnyside, to be specific, but also just generally.
I would love to learn about that more. I think what's really cool is all of you have been there and done it. Like you've been at Sunnyside, you've spent time hanging out. Where would you hang out? Like Karen, what's the restaurant? Like where's the hangout that you go to on like a Friday or Saturday night?
Back in high school or here?
Yeah, high school.
High school, I didn't go out that much. I think my hangout spot was with like these two friends of mine who like did the same programs and clubs as I did. And so like wherever they were, that's what my hangout spot was.
Yeah. What about you, Eric and Alexis and Jesus? Where would you hang out in Sunnyside on the weekends?
My house. We would hang out all over the place. Honestly, the bowling alley, McDonald's, soccer fields,
back of the Pioneer. Yeah. Just play soccer.
We go to the movies a lot too.
Yeah. What's the movie theater?
Grand Yakima Valley Cinema, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So that's where you hang. Okay, cool. It's always nice to know because like I like talking about that because like you've been there, right? Like you guys are where so many other students are. And now you're here. And the difference between those students and you is time, right? Just time and working hard. Eric, what is your dream?
I don't really have like a dream right now. I think that's my big purpose is figuring out what my dream is, because I know that I want to be helping people and I want to go into a cause where I can work one-on-one with people in a setting of counseling. So whatever that may look like in the future, I'm not sure, but I'm excited to like pursue that. Right now, I really want to focus on working in counseling for the next 2 years and then possibly trying out academic counseling.
It sounds like you, for someone who doesn't have a dream, you actually do.
It's an idea.
Is calling it a dream too big? Is there too much at stake when,
I think for me, a dream is something that I'm passionate about. And I just haven't found that yet. I think that's why that's a big word for me, dream.
Do you think you'll find it?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I just think that it's going to take time for me to explore, have new experiences, and then pretty soon I think I'll find it.
Well, what do you say to a student who's like, I don't have a dream, and if I don't have a dream, then why do I need to go to college to pursue something I don't even know what I want to pursue?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that's important to me right now because I'm facing a similar issue with graduate school. Like a few months back, I was like gun ho. I was going to go to graduate school. I was set. But then maybe like, a couple weeks ago, I just realized that I'm not really passionate enough to be putting my motivation and time and effort into graduate school right now. So I need to take a step back and then just take risks, try new experiences, put myself out there so I can learn something.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for high school students to do right now is take risks so that they can learn things. And then bit by bit, they'll learn, where they want to go. I think it'll come naturally to them once they take that risk.
So even being a senior in college, it's not like all of a sudden you get to college and you know everything that's going to be happening. But
yeah,
you keep experimenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the idea of calling it all an experiment, because then there's no failing. It's like if you take the next year or two and you conduct an experiment and decide I'm going to wait to go to grad school, and I'm not just going to sit around and just observe. I'm going to do an experience, an experiment, knowing that if I take risks, something great's going to happen, then it will, right? It always does. So I like that. It's a philosophy that I align with as well. Alexis, tell me about your dream job, dream life.
Dedicating a lot of my energy and talents to those most in need. How that's going to develop, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm hopeful that next year doing a Jesuit Volunteer Corps, which is something I'm applying to, that would be helpful in finding what is it that I'm most passionate about and seeing where things go from there.
What are you going to be applying for?
A Jesuit Volunteer Corps. So it's a 1-year volunteer program. And you can go to a variety of different locations throughout the States. There's an international program as well, but that unfortunately is not happening because of COVID. You are located somewhere in the States and you dedicate 1 year to service, either homelessness, immigrant refugee services, and you live in community. So you live with other volunteers in a house and you kind of learn how to impact your community in a significant way.
Well, that will be interesting. I mean, it sounds like another adventure. And the fact that you're here and you're doing this, and I know you also went abroad, right? That was a meaningful experience. I want to hear about that too, because I think that just the experiences that you're all having, you seem very brave, all of you, to be here. I imagine it probably was hard at times. And I want to really dig into that too, so that other people who are looking at you and being like, wow, like, how do I do this? It's not that easy, but you're here. So we'll learn more. Jesus, tell me about your dream job, dream life. Let's go 10 years in the future.
At the moment, I wouldn't say I have a specific dream job, but my dream, as broad as it may sound, is just to live a life that the younger version of me would be proud of. So whether that includes like my academic career, balancing my academic career with my hobbies, making the people back home proud, my family, my friends. I think that's just being happy with what I'm doing is my dream.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And what more could you want? Hey, the poster over your shoulder, I'm curious. The one that's like what's that?
Oh, it's a movie. It's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, cool. You like movies?
This is in my room. This is my cousin's room.
Your cousin likes my room. Oh,
yeah, my cousin likes movies.
It's cool, man. I like it. Right. I don't know. Everything's so nicely organized. Hey, Karen, what's over your shoulder? What's LDS Stanford? Yeah.
Sure. So this is my religious group on campus. It's the Latter-day Saints Student Association. I made that poster actually for one of our events, but that's what that is. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. It's very eye-catching. So were you always LDS? Did you grow up LDS, if I can ask?
No, I didn't. And I'm the only member of the church in my family. I joined the church or was baptized as a junior going into my senior year of high school. And I've been very involved with the church and this student association since I got to Stanford.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're part of the church.
Yes.
And also part of the association, because sometimes I'll meet people who identify as different religions and they're part of different organizations. That's so cool. So you really found a home through LDS.
I did.
At Stanford.
Yes, I did. And they were, apart from the community that I found in my freshman dorm, they were also, the LDSSA was a community that was immediately available to me. And I've made some great friends there too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of spiritual groups because they're nice people and free food, right?
Yeah, for plenty of free food.
Right. And nice people too?
Yes.
Right. That's wonderful. Well, good. I'm glad you found a place. And I think that's also something that a lot of students worry about is if I'm far away from home, how do I find community? How do I find friends and how do I manage through all these changes? So I want to get to know your experiences. I want to know how you landed at the University of Washington. I want to understand how you got to Stanford. Karen, are you and Alexis in the same graduating class?
We should be.
In high school? Like in high school,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of us were.
Were you in the top? Were both of you in the top of your class?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we all graduated with honors, I believe.
Okay.
Not sure.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm interested to know just how you all got here. I know I'm going to be a little pushy, but I also want to know how you pay for it, because these are not inexpensive schools. You're living in housing. You're taking care of your needs. So I want to understand all that. So hopefully we'll get to dig into all that. Before I focus on how you got to college, I would love for everyone to get a kind of a handle on who you were in high school. If you were to describe yourself in a very stereotypical way, whether you were the jock or you were the friendly one or you were the studying, you're kind of a nerd. I don't even like the word nerd, but nerd's kind of like popular again, the word nerd. Like nerds kind of rule everything, I think. It's not bad to be a nerd, right? No, like nerds are good. Or if you're on the football team or varsity soccer, whatever, and your family dynamics as well, just to kind of give us a flavor of what your family life was like and what it was like to grow up where you were. So let's start with Alexis. Alexis, so take me back to your childhood at Sunnyside. Give us a little flavor of who Alexis is. What were you like in high school growing up? Let us into your life, Alexis.
Yeah. Where do I begin? Well, I was born and raised in Sunnyside. Most people were born in Prosser, so like 15 minutes away, and raised in Sunnyside. But I was born and raised in Sunnyside. But yeah, I grew up like most parents. They immigrated from countries in Central America. My parents specifically from Mexico. And so I grew up in Sunnyside, which is a very, it's home to a lot of immigrants. And so it's not, unusual to hear conversations in Spanish in the community, and especially at my church. So I grew up in a religious family. We would go to church every week, and I'd, go and participate and engage. And I think from that, I learned quite a few values of compassion, of serving the other. And I think from that, it really influenced me in high school. I really decided to put that to good use into action. And so I tried to get involved as much as I could, doing clubs like Key Club, Honor Society, participating in my youth group. And so I just tried to get involved as much as I could.
And what about your family dynamics? You said your parents are immigrants. Are they working in a particular field, or and what was kind of their background?
Yeah. So both my parents, unfortunately, didn't have a lot of resources back in Mexico. They both lived in poor rural towns, and so they thought that the best way to provide for themselves and for their future families was to come to the United States. And being here, they have tried to do the best they could to support me and my older sister. But yeah, my parents kind of dedicated a lot of time to working in the fields, warehouses, and also just trying to make a living.
So growing up, did you worry about having enough, or there's always enough? Did you have to work to help as well?
There was always enough, but there was one instance that I kind of still remember where we couldn't afford to pay for during the winter to have our heaters, our heaters. So I do remember that was a very cold winter, but we got by. But I don't remember ever not having enough. I think I'm grateful for what I had, and very thankful that both of my parents did what they could.
Yeah. Well, I have so much respect for first generation students, for parents, immigrant parents. I've talked to a lot of students, and I just think your parents are the biggest heroes. They're heroes, and they don't get the credit that they deserve, I think, from just everybody. I mean, because here you are in this warm home at a top university, creating this amazing life and wanting to serve others. And I can't imagine anything greater than you having this experience as a result of their sacrifices. So it's something that I'm always amazed by, because I have a different background, and from working, I toured the Valley and went to a lot of schools, and I've talked to lots of students, and it's remarkable, man. Like, it's remarkable. Like when you were dealing with the heating issues, not being able to have the money to heat your house. Were you in high school? Was this middle school?
This was elementary, I believe. Yeah,
Okay.
this was one. Just one winter. Yeah.
Right. So just one winter, but that stuff, you remember that. And
Yeah.
that's stuff that other people don't always know about, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that stuff. I know in high school you were really involved. You were in basketball. You also mentioned the youth groups, TSA, involved with science fair and all that. Did you do that stuff because you wanted to? Did someone tell you to do it? Because I know a lot of students aren't involved, and they're like, I'm not like him. But like, how did you get involved in high school?
I just pretty much accepted the invitation. I had friends who would just tell me, let's do summer ball. Let's, try this out. And I would kind of just tag along. The alternative was just being at home, and I thought that would be boring. So being at school was much more of a fun alternative. So it was a bit of both, just trying things. TSA, something I realized wasn't for me, but I realized that after doing it with a friend. And I kind of just tuned into what I was that I enjoyed and followed that, and tried to figure out who are the people, the activities and spaces I want to visit consistently. Yeah.
Cool. Eric, so Alexis pretty well. So, I can tell when he's talking, I almost imagine you thinking about like participating in the things he's talking about. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, brings back memories. That's the best way I can say it.
Yeah. So take us back to your family life, your childhood.
My mom was always the stay-at-home mom, so she was taking care of 4 children. My dad, I just have so much respect for him. Now that looking back at it, he's a field worker, so agricultural work, and that's very common to find in Sunnyside. A lot of immigrant parents will be working in the fields because it's one of the only jobs that they really know and that can provide long hours but good pay. So my dad would work, from 3 a.m. all the way until 7 p.m. And that's when I see him. And looking back now, I just imagine, it's so much work, but he had to do it in order to provide for a family of, 6. So I really appreciate that. And I feel like everyone else could relate with their parents with the amount of respect that we have for them.
Did you ever go out and work in the fields as well?
I was 12 or 13 when I first tried working in the fields. I tried blueberries. And that summer I realized that it's terrible. It's such a hostile environment to be out in the heat all day because it's in the summer. So you're out in the bare heat, nothing to protect you other than your clothes. And then in the early mornings when you go, it's freezing. It's nice to take a step back and realize like, wow, like I had that experience when I was that young and no one forced it on me. I wanted to go experience it. And I was also able to, a little bit like later in high school, I tried working in a warehouse. They produce the agriculture, then it gets moved to the warehouse, and that's where they pack it and send it out to the rest of the country.
Right. So you did that for a little bit, and it was just you didn't do it for long.
No, I grew to understand that I know why my parents were pushing hard for me to be in school, were pushing hard for me to learn and be in clubs and be able to do the best that I can because they didn't want that for me.
Yeah. And you were really busy. So in high school, cross country, soccer, tennis, TSA, religious groups, is that all true?
Yeah. That's all stuff that I would do, and it all overlapped. So that was really cool. I think that a lot of that was just me wanting to try new things. So that was really cool, being able to have like a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, I know in the back of my mind, some of those were mainly because I just had a strong push from home to really get involved. And if I didn't get involved, I was almost wasting my time.
So would you hang out with other people who were involved in doing things to kind of move themselves forward? Was that really intentional? Was that something you did?
Early on in high school, freshman year, no. But I think that transformed, the year after year. I think I intentionally wanted to surround myself with people that, were doing more and going that extra mile.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's easy to not.
Yeah.
So that was intentional. Cool. And then I'm going to learn how you got to college and how you're able to pay for it, because it sounds like just in both your stories, it's not like you had buckets of money ready to pay for college. It was just getting through it and then seeing what happens next. Jesus, so take me to your childhood experiences. Just give me a sense of you and your background.
So I was born in Michoacan, Mexico, and I actually moved to the United States when I was 2 years old. And I had been living in Sunnyside from then until I left to college. My parents' background, agricultural workers. I remember my dad, he would always be at work. He worked at the dairy sometimes, and there was times when his shift would be night times. So I'd probably go like weeks without seeing him just because he was always at work. But I think that embedded the hardworking mindset into me, because I tried to get out and help my family out, start working, help my family out as soon as I could. And I think because of my want to work, I wasn't as involved in school as some other of my peers. Yeah, I'm just really thankful for my parents' efforts, the things they taught me, the lessons that being poor teaches you.
For some students, it's getting involved isn't an option because you're working, right?
Yeah, I was involved to an extent. There was more things that I wanted to do, but I just couldn't.
What was your job in high school?
So in high school, I had this job at this little meat market where I was a meat dispatcher. So I learned how to cut steaks, cut different types of meats, and then dispatch them. It was honestly a really cool job. You just get to know a lot of cool people. It's a Hispanic community, so it's Hispanic people coming in all the time. It just felt like home. It was a nice job, honestly.
Were you hacking just
Yeah, we had electric saws, and we'd have to slice some crazy shit.
What were you slicing?
I don't know, cow heads. The most extreme things would be cow heads and I don't know.
So you just remember taking your electric knife and just
no, it's like a saw.
So the saw, you would just saw their heads?
Yeah.
That sounds graphic.
Yeah, it was pretty dangerous.
Was it?
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, it's fascinating. You were 18, 17?
Probably 15.
15, dude. Whoa. So you're 15 working in a meat processing facility. Is that what you're saying? Or where are you working?
Yeah, it was more like a store. It's like a little market. Yeah, it was like a little
meat market. And then you would be back just cutting the different animals.
Yeah.
Do you know the different cuts of meat?
Yeah. I can still go to a store now and be able to tell if they're doing it right or not.
That's a skill, man. Did you like that? Sounds like you did.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but it's something that I probably wouldn't explore now. It's like something cool that I did in the past, but yeah, I'll probably stay in the past.
You're done cutting meat.
Yeah.
But that's a cool story. I mean, that's wild. I didn't know that at 15 you could do that. So that's pretty awesome. And you'd make good money.
Well, yeah, I was pretty much just supporting like my personal expenses, so I don't have to worry about rent or anything like that at the time. So the money was all for me and my siblings. Yeah.
So if you wanted a pair of shoes, you'd have to earn money.
That's kind of the reason why I started working so early, just because like my parents couldn't afford to get me nice things. And I was always into fashion, so I kind of had to start working for myself if I wanted these things.
What's something you worked for that you were really proud of in high school?
It's probably this one pair of shoes that I have been wanting since I was like probably like 10. And the day that I finally, they're the Air Jordan 1 Chicago's. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
I caught them when I was 18. And I remember just being so proud that I actually had them in my hands.
So you wanted them when you were 10 and you finally got them when you were 18.
Yep.
I love it. Do you still have those shoes?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I imagine you'll always have them, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they represent something, like you can do anything,
Exactly. Yeah. It's just a reminder.
Yeah. Because you can. Those little battles, I think, are really important, because they just remind you. Because here you are now. So, and you'll do anything. I could tell. I know with all of you, you'll do whatever you want. Like nothing will stop you. So it's fun to talk to you now. Because like in 10 years, it will be a trip to see where you are, what you're doing. Will you come back in 10 years and talk to me?
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do this in 10 years. That'll be awesome. That'd be great. We could play some of these clips, right? You'll be like, no way. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. Right. We could edit some of the stuff out too. Right.
Yeah, probably have to edit a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. So cool. That's cool. So Karen, tell me a little bit about you growing up in Sunnyside, your background, who you were in high school.
My parents also immigrated from Mexico City. That's where they moved from. And I also grew up my entire life in Sunnyside. And my parents, ever since I can remember, have been essential workers. So my parents were definitely involved in like working in agricultural sectors of work. And then when I got older, they both like entered like bodegas or like factories, and they are still essential workers now. But despite that, they have always encouraged me and my sisters to work hard for an education, to give it our all at all times. And they always told us that they both graduated like the top of their class in high school back in Mexico, and they had dreams of like going off to college, but they decided to move to the US to better provide for their future family. Actually, my older sister probably learned that lesson the best out of her, me, and then our younger sister Kayla, because since we were in elementary school, she has always been very education oriented, like a very studious and such a hard worker. And being her younger sister, I always looked up to her, and I would say that she has influenced me the most in my education and my like academic values. And so when I got to high school, I really wanted to be involved in the same programs as her. I wanted to reach her status of like a really good student. All of her teachers who also got to have me as a student would tell me about her, and I was always so inspired. And so I was also a very like studious, like nerdy, like a rule follower in high school. And I started out participating in like the same clubs as she did. So I was very committed to math club. I was very committed to honor society. And she also got me involved in this program called Upward Bound, which is a college prep program for high school students that I went through in high school, and she also did. And those programs and clubs like really motivated me to work harder. But I also did like my own things. I became really interested in like science fair and science club. I absolutely loved that community and that space that science club offered me to kind of just pursue my own like projects and like present them. It was very fun. And I did other program or other clubs like Knowledge Bowl and what was it? I was also involved in like track and field, like just my senior year of high school, but those were really fun. But yes, I think because of like my family, my parents, but specifically my sister, have always been very passionate about education and higher education specifically. And that just showed all throughout high school. I never wavered from wanting to pursue higher education.
So your sister was really one of your heroes.
She is. And anytime someone asks me like, who's your role model? Immediately I would say Carla. That's her name, like my older sister. So she very much inspired me a lot.
And then did Carla go on to college?
Yes, she did. She actually graduated from Stanford University in 2020. So she set a lot of examples, set a lot of good examples for me.
Yeah. So, Stanford is one of the most selective schools in the world. I mean, you could even say that. I mean, it's so selective. And you had this dream of going to Stanford. Is that right? To be like Carla?
After she got into Stanford, yes. It was a goal of mine. Mm-hmm.
Right. So Carla went to Stanford. So now Karen had to go to Stanford.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to, yes. And actually, I hadn't heard of, I didn't know about the university at all before she got in. And I think that's because just like the high school really promotes and encourages students to go to college, but you don't hear too much about schools that are out of state. At least I didn't hear much about that when I was in high school. Yeah.
I mean, it's unusual and really challenging. I think just the idea of going out of state and then getting into a school that, how much is it? What's the sticker price for Stanford? How much is it? What's the sticker price for Stanford?
The total cost of attendance is about like $80,000
a year.
A year.
So times 4 is
a lot of money.
$320,000. That's real?
That is real for a lot of people here, yes.
So now that we know what the sticker price is, can you tell us how you have been able to manage $320,000 worth of education?
Sure. And I think my case is special because I don't pay anything to come to Stanford. I receive full financial aid, and that's because Stanford has a really great financial aid program. And they have a lot of like financial resources that they can offer to students who, by Stanford standards, are low income. And so, for example, students whose families make $65,000 or less are afforded a full ride to Stanford, and families that make $125,000 or less per year don't have to pay tuition. And so fortunately for me, like I am on a full ride scholarship. Although before I was admitted to Stanford and committed here, I made sure to apply for scholarships regardless because I didn't know what that situation would be like. But
does that amaze you? Are you in awe that you're able to go here and to get full financial aid?
Yeah, I feel very, in an ironic way, I feel very privileged that I can afford the university by not having to pay to attend. I have a lot of good friends that unfortunately that isn't the case for them, but I am amazed and very grateful. And like, I feel very como presumida to be able to attend without worrying about financials, without having my parents worry about financials.
Yeah, I love it. And it's really so special to get to meet somebody who is benefiting from this, because I don't think a lot of people really know. And I think for students who are younger, whether they're in middle school or high school. So Karen, somebody else now looks at you like you looked at Carla. So now I want you to talk to that middle school student and I want you to give them the recipe. Okay. What is the recipe so they can get to, if not Stanford, because, who knows, there's also some luck involved as well, because there's only so many spots. but somewhere exceptional where they can do what they want and be able to live their dream. What's that formula?
Considering like my own experience, I think it's very important to just have that drive and passion for pursuing higher education first. And I think it's also important to reach out to people who can guide you and to look for as many resources as you can, especially if you think or doubt that you won't be able to go to college or university, even graduate high school. I think it's very, very important to have a good supportive community that can help you through any challenges, academic or personal. For me, like I had my sister, but I also I participated in that Upward Bound program that I mentioned, and they really prepared me for college. I think they helped me become a more confident student. They had many resources that I was able to access and use to get into college. They helped me a lot with my college applications in terms of like making sure I got things on time, advising me about, what to, I think, participate in high school. Like I participated in the things that I did out of like my own free will, but they definitely encourage you to do things that will help you to become like a more well-rounded student. And apart from those things, I just definitely think that it's important for you to never, doubt yourself. If you, at one point in your life, are confident that you can, achieve your goals, it's really important to maintain that. I think I wasn't always a confident student, but as soon as I was able to, have more faith in myself, like I just was able to motivate myself to push through any academic or other challenges. Mm-hmm. And I do think that Stanford is an achievable goal for anyone if you really like commit yourself to the things that you want, the goals that you have in mind. Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. It's exciting to know that and to see that it's within reach, because there really are no limits. I think I was talking to someone before. I was like, I just love talking to, I love talking to students from all over, but being from Yakima Valley, going to Stanford, going to University of Washington, living your life, it's like you guys, anything's within reach, which I think is really exciting. What was I going to ask you? I was asking one more thing, Karen. When it comes to FAFSA, do you have any FAFSA pro tips for students who are a little intimidated?
Sure. So I think it can be very intimidating if you're filling out the FAFSA by yourself. I'm going to mention Upward Bound probably again in this.
Please do.
But like I said, Upward Bound has really great resources. And I know that one of the coordinators of my Upward Bound program at Yakima Valley College, Al, made sure to set aside a lot of time for students to come to him with questions about the FAFSA. He had always encouraged students to make sure to start the application early, to go and ask your parents for any of the documents that you will need. And so it's a very guided process, and you feel supported the entire time. And my older sister, who I mentioned, on top of reaching out to that coordinator and other staff in Upward Bound, she also reached out to the college's financial officer, I think. His name was Mateo. He was involved in a separate TRIO program, but who was very knowledgeable about the FAFSA and could really guide her through that as well. And so first, start early. Second, utilize your resources. That includes online forums or people in your network. And then three, just always ask questions and make sure that you're also involving your parents. I think that's also important.
And then when you were applying to colleges, where did you apply and where did you get in?
Sure. I applied to so many schools. I applied to the University of Washington, Eastern, which is also in Washington. I applied to BYU, both in Idaho and in Utah. I applied to Stanford, 4 University of California schools. I believe Princeton and Harvard, Williams College and Swarthmore College. I don't think I'm missing any. And then I got into all of those schools except for Harvard and Princeton.
Okay. But you did pretty well.
I was proud of myself. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing and exciting. And when it came to applying, did you get fee waivers for all of those?
Yes, fortunately I did. I got fee waivers, so I didn't have to pay for any applications, which also very much encouraged me to apply to as many schools as I could.
Right. And what I'm really trying to emphasize is when it comes to worrying about money, if you don't have it, but you have the drive, don't worry about it, right?
Yes.
It will be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's something a lot of students really are worried about. So, Eric, I want to get a handle. Take me to high school. Tell me about college. Like, did you always know you were going to go to college? What was that process like for you? How did you pick UW?
I think from a young age, in elementary, like taking it all the way back there, the teachers and our principal always had in mind that we were going to go to college. I think they would even like separate classes like into like little universities, and you would gain points in each university that you were in. So like it was always like in our minds way back when that like college is possible. College is like an end goal. And I think once I was in high school, it became more of a reality. I started to take those steps of applying to the FAFSA and, reaching out to my counselors. I was also in Upward Bound. So then I joined, I think, about sophomore year. That's about when I joined Upward Bound. And oh, wow, Upward Bound is such a big help, because I felt like they really were it was just about getting you into college and opening up your options. So I think before Upward Bound, I still had that in mind, and I still was like college oriented, but with the assistance of that program and counseling at the high school, it all came together to form like I can do this. Like I can go to college, and it's just about, finding those resources to be able to do it.
What about Gear Up? Were you involved with Gear Up as well?
Yeah, I think the aspect that I remember most about Gear Up is the field trips that Gear Up would be taking us to. So Gear Up would take us to, Central University. They take us to Wazoo, University of Washington. And those trips just kind of like made it more natural for me to be on a college campus, to experience that, because not many people get out of the Valley. So it's kind of nice to just, move about within your own state and look at the options that you have.
Would you spend the night for those trips, like the UW trip, or was that like a day trip?
It was usually a day trip, but I remember one specific trip where Jesus and Alexis were there too. And we went to Wazoo, I believe. And then we went to, or was it Eastern? Or which one was it? No, what was it? Gonzaga? There you go. Yeah. So it was cool. There was one trip where we did get stay overnight, and I just hold those memories. They're good memories.
That's great. Karen, did you also go on field trips with Gear Up?
I don't remember being that involved with Gear Up at all. Like I definitely heard about it, especially in middle school, but I have a vague memory about that, and I assume the answer is no.
Right. So the Upward Bound really working in that program. And then what I want to make sure of, what I want to touch on during our conversation as well, is once you all arrived on campus, like finding your places and being able to navigate that change, because it's such a big transition. Alexis, Eric, one more question. How are you able to afford college?
That's a great question. So, coming from a poor family, financial aid really comes in clutch. So I'm a family of 6, and my dad was the only one working. Up until 2014, he got into a work accident, which caused him to, have to be rushed to the ER. He had to get, a couple body parts amputated. So it was pretty serious. And ever since then, it was a struggle, because my parents had to go through a financial crisis to figure out, how are we going to support, our family. So I think being poor, I'm not going to say it helped, but being poor, had that, I guess, benefit of the, financial aid kicking through. So I got full financial aid, which is about maybe $16,000 every year. And then I applied to scholarships like the Rotary Scholarship, the WAVE Scholarship. I didn't get any of them. So that was kind of sad. But, I was determined that if I'm going to be in college, I'm going to work for it. I'll get a job. But luckily, I think the University of Washington they were able to provide the Costco scholarship. I didn't apply for that, but they kind of just, recognized, I guess my merits, and they were able to give me that scholarship, which was 40,000 for 4 years. So in combination with the Costco scholarship and financial aid every year, I was able to luckily go to college and not have to pay anything.
Wow. How did you find out about the Costco scholarship?
Through the mail. As soon as I found out when I was accepted to the University of Washington, there was like another little envelope that came with the package, just kind of describing everything. And it was such an emotional moment. My mom was right behind me. I opened it. I was like, I'm in. I was like, what's this other envelope? And we opened it and my mom just started crying. I kind of teared up. And it was kind of a really cool experience to be able to, to be excited about paying for college.
That's so great. Were there activities for Costco scholars once you got on campus?
There was mainly like a big orientation that, showed us the school, talked about the program, who the funders were, showed us other Costco scholars. So like here in this chat or in this video call, there's other Costco scholars here that could talk about it too.
Who are those other Costco scholars?
Jesus and Alexis.
All of you are Costco scholars?
Yeah, well, the three of us, yeah.
That's great, right? And Karen, you're a different scholar. That's amazing. So you're all Costco scholars. Oh, that's so cool. Do you love Costco, Eric?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love their chicken bakes. I love their pizzas.
They give you like a card, right? You get like a membership, right?
Oh, no. What we do get though is a free ride. So that's good enough.
Right. What else do you need? I love that. That's exciting. So you were able to get a full scholarship. And if you didn't get into the University of Washington or you didn't get the financial aid, did you have another plan?
Yeah, I had gotten into Western and Eastern. But I think my fault really was that I didn't really apply to many places. The University of Washington was definitely my number one, but I was kind of scared. If I'm being honest, I was a kind of a lazy kid in high school. I know it's kind of weird to say because I was involved in a lot of things, but just like in my own personal way, I felt like I was lazy. I could have done more, and I felt like I could have put myself out there more. So that's why I think that definitely like freshman year, I had like a bit of imposter syndrome when it came to being at the university. And that impacted a lot on like my experiences here at the UW, and just like feeling like, wow, it's a lot of money. Like, I really got lucky to be able to like go to this school. So other options were on the table, but they just, I was going to have to really put an effort to pay those off and just accept loans and be able to work during college.
So what scared you? You said you were scared of applying to other schools. Yeah,
I think part of that fear was that I didn't believe that I could achieve those levels of success. I felt like if I had applied to those places, I wasn't going to get in. So what was the point? Looking back at that now, I would say that's ridiculous. I think I should have taken more risks.
And where didn't you apply?
So I was also considering some Ivy League schools. Berkeley and Stanford were definitely ones I was considering, but I didn't think I could get into those. So those are the main two, like the two that I was considering was Berkeley and Stanford.
What's imposter syndrome for people who don't know what that is?
So imposter syndrome is you finally get to the university, you're there, you're with all the other students, you're in the classes, and you just have this overwhelming sensation that you don't belong there. You feel like everyone else comes from a different background. You feel like everyone else is more prepared. And you start to like eat at yourself for being there, for having these opportunities. Coming from immigrant parents, that impacted me a lot. I just felt like I didn't belong at the university for a good amount of time. As much as I would say I loved it, freshman year came with a lot of challenges. I think that I kind of went into a slump, and it mainly impacted my grades, the way that I was, going out of my way to like interact with people. I wasn't joining many groups. So I think definitely the first quarter of UW was a big learning experience, and having to like face imposter syndrome and then this new lifestyle that I was taking on, it was a lot. It was definitely a lot.
Did you think of quitting?
I felt like every day, like I was just prolonging me just like not being at the university anymore. But luckily, I think there was programs that I was a part of. Camp, as you can see by my sweater, was definitely a big help. College Assistant Migrant Program. That's what it stands for. And it's for people that need that extra assistance, that have immigrant parents that don't know anything about the university. They can receive the resources and the help and the guidance. So that's like what mainly kept me here at the University of Washington, was a supportive network of people that were caring for me, that were compassionate and guided me through like every step.
How did you find camp?
Camp. So they have recruiters that come to the high school, and the recruiter that came that I remember the most was Mari Carmen. So she was just like this very vibrant, like cool woman that I just remember from high school. She's like, "You want to go to college?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to go to college." She's like, "You want to go to University of Washington?" I was like, "Yeah, I really do." So that like conversation led us to talking about camp and how I could benefit. And, you know, if I was qualified to be in camp, which the qualifications would be, you know, you come from agricultural background, you know, immigrant parents, and you have at least I can't remember if it was a 3.0 or a 3.5 GPA. There was some sort of GPA also that you should have requirement you should have met. So it was really aimed towards students that were college geared and that really wanted to go to college.
And then at camp, when you were struggling, who helped you and what did they say or do?
So the most important figure that I remember from camp was Dr. G. He's Dr. Gabriel Gallardo. So he helped create the camp program, maybe like about, you know, a decade ago or so. He is just such an inspiring man. The level that he reached in the university was just so high. He had a lot of authority in the university, and his compassion towards, you know, people that resembled him, people that came from the same background, it just kept me going. Our conversations would be very short, but I think I would learn a lot from just all his experiences. He was the reason that I was able to study abroad. So I can't thank him enough, you know. Rest in peace, but I can't thank him enough.
Oh, so he's no longer with us.
Okay.
Right, but still with you and
Yes.
clearly having an impact. Where did you study abroad?
Tahiti, so the French Polynesia.
That sounds tropical.
Yeah, it's out in the middle of the ocean.
That's amazing. All right, Eric, man, I got to talk to more people. You're so interesting. I love talking to all of you, man. You got good stuff. You almost dropped out. You were hanging on by your fingernails, right? Somehow you ended up going to Tahiti, studying abroad. You're a Costco scholar. Now you're graduating. So the grad school thing, you know, now you can go to those schools, right? Like, do you think if you go to grad school, are you comfortable applying anywhere now, Eric?
Now I believe so. I think I've passed that barrier of am I worth it or not? But it's definitely about now, like it's a different mindset. Like, am I ready? Am I motivated to go to a graduate school program? That's the issue now.
When did you realize you were worthy and deserving of where you are?
I think it was after my Tahiti trip. I had come back sophomore year. And just the sheer experience of just experiencing another culture and being surrounded by students that were, again, like all, you know, poor, and just being able to resonate with, like, you know, it's not about whether I fit in here or not. It's about what I'm willing to do to succeed. And coming back from Tahiti, I really, you know, I got myself in check. I wanted to succeed. I know that I wanted to do something for myself. And that's what I did. And that year, I just remember it was the first time that I that I 4.0'd a class just out of sheer hard work and determination. So it was a milestone for me coming back from Tahiti.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great to know. And were you getting like D's?
I was getting C's and B's before, so I was just barely passing. But you know, I could have been doing better.
Could you have lost your scholarship?
At that point, no. I would have had to been failing a course in order to lose my scholarship. So yeah. So no, I wasn't gonna fail it. No.
Cool, man. That's great. Alexis, thanks so much, Eric. Alexis, How did you end up at the University of Washington? What was your journey?
How did I end up at the University of Washington? I started applying to colleges like everyone else, and I decided to apply to many. And like Eric, I wish I should have. I should have applied to colleges outside the state, but I just, like Eric, was perhaps a little bit scared and intimidated and didn't do so. But luckily, I was able to get into UW, and I think that came from just a lot of hard work and just applying. I built a good relationship with the counselor at our high school, Mr. Ramirez. And so I tried to apply as many scholarships as I could. And I was fortunate enough to get a couple along with the Costco scholarship. And so that's kind of my journey, just being with the right friend groups, with the right friends. We kind of just motivated each other to apply and just do our best, and building a good relationship with the counselor. That kind of really pushed me to, be here at the university.
So why were you scared to apply to schools outside the state?
I don't know if I was mature enough or ready to kind of make that big transition. I was a little too fearful of going outside the states and being away from, the familiar. And so that was too frightening, and that I thought it would be best for me just to stay within the state boundaries, at least for these next couple of years of the university.
And then you got there, you said you were able to get some scholarships. So specifically, can you speak to some of those scholarships and how you got them?
One of them was the WAIF scholarship, the Washington Apple Education Foundation. And so they had an application that you had to fill out. And another was the Yakima Rotary Scholarship, Molly Monroe Scholarship more specifically. Those I was fortunate enough to qualify for, and I accepted. And there's also a lot of smaller ones that I applied, but I didn't get those just because me and a couple other friends were applying to a lot of them, that the counselor at some point had to say, no, you guys are already, applying for so many, you kind of have to leave some room for other students. I don't think I'd be at the university if it weren't for the assistance of those scholarships.
Yeah. Like, what about a student who's a freshman or a middle school student, or like even a junior is like, you know what, how can I afford this? And then what if they're not the top student or the valedictorian or salutatorian? What do you say to them?
From the people who have gone to these universities and perhaps haven't had the best, ranking or grades, how they got in were just kind of their character and their personal statement. I think sometimes your personal statement, if it's powerful enough, can override the certain reasons why you didn't volunteer as much in high school. So I think just tuning in with who you are and making a good personal statement can sometimes make up for those felt absences of not volunteering during high school or in extracurriculars.
Was there anyone in high school who really helped you, a specific person?
Mr. Ramirez, the graduation specialist. I mean, he was a huge help to me. And I think many of us here on this panel, he was very knowledgeable about FAFSA, the application, very knowledgeable about different universities, their tuition and how they function, how they work. He'd always notify us of when certain scholarships were available, when's their deadline. So he just knew, he was just very savvy, very just college savvy. And he was the go-to guy. If you had a question about anything, I would tell my friends, go see Mr. Ramirez, or, go, and he knows.
And you always knew you were going to go, and you made it, and you keep doing it. So that's inspiring. Jesus, so you're also at UW. Was UW your dream school?
Yeah, it was. Actually, I had a teacher in 5th grade, Mr. Aaron. He repped it hard, He was like, you got to go here. Like, you can do it. And I didn't really believe that I could, but because he was saying it, I was like, damn, maybe I can. So it wasn't until junior year that I really started taking college seriously, just because prior to that, I didn't think my family would be able to afford it. And I didn't want to put them through the financial burden. There was a lot of counselors, teachers who pushed me, who believed in me. They were like, dude, you can really do it. And that's when I changed my mindset. Like, okay, even if I can't afford it, there's other ways. Despite being accepted into UW at that point, I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for it. So it was kind of a bittersweet feeling. I was like, well, I'm accepted, but I don't know if I can go yet. And then the Costco scholarship came in, and that's when things just changed. Like after that, things just happened so fast. I went from like not even thinking about college to like, oh, I'm going to college next year.
Were you the top of your class?
I was always in the honors. I always put academics first, you know, even though I knew or I didn't know I was going to college, I always just try to focus on my academics.
After you got in, had you already applied for the Costco scholarship?
They just selected us. I'm sure there was some way they selected us, but we were selected and we were let known about it. And yeah, so I got my Costco scholarship letter maybe 2 days after I had got the UW acceptance award. So during those 2 days, it was just like a lot of overthinking, like what's going to happen.
So your advice to any student, I would say, is apply, even if you don't know if you can pay for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I had heard that a lot. I had heard that like, oh, if you really want to go there and you don't have the money, still apply. But for some reason, I just didn't really believe it until I got the scholarship and it actually happened.
Well, it's good to hear it out of your mouth, so other people will believe this. So if you don't know if you can afford it, then still apply. Karen, when you applied to these other schools and they accepted you, were there other schools that were giving you financial aid packages?
None as big as Stanford's. So like with reference to the UC schools, they're all like public institutions, and I am not a resident of California. And so that was definitely, I think, a little disappointing. They are also very expensive institutions, but the financial aid that I was offered still worried me. It still concerned me. And fortunately, I applied early to Stanford. So Stanford was the very first school that I heard about. And as soon as I was admitted, I already knew about their financial aid, and I had that as a crutch and to motivate me to like apply to the other schools. But no, this institution, I think, offered the best financial aid for me. I had, like I mentioned, applied to outside scholarships. Similarly to Alexis, I applied to the Molly Davis scholarship and I received it, fortunately. I had applied to other like local scholarships in Sunnyside or in the Valley, which would have supported me a little more, but nowhere near enough to meet the amount of the cost of attendance of the other institutions that I applied to.
Yeah. When it comes to imposter syndrome, I noticed when Eric was talking about that, you seem to connect with that. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience fitting in Stanford?
Sure. It's still something that I struggle with, imposter syndrome. I recognize that Stanford is like a very like prestigious and competitive institution. And when I first arrived to campus, I was semi-confident in my like learning abilities and my commitment to learning. But definitely in my second year here, I started to doubt myself. I even now refuse to let my friends read my papers, to like edit them, just because I'm like scared about what they'll think about my work. I do perform like well academically, but I definitely struggle with imposter syndrome to the point that I'm afraid to let other people like review my work or to like present in front of them unless I'm very, very prepared. I think last year, especially during the pandemic, I was doing online school and I was a little more removed from like the classroom environment. And I think that helped with my imposter syndrome a little bit, knowing that there were other students who were also struggling like with like online or remote learning. But at the same time, it also in some cases heightened my insecurities about learning, just because I was isolated and I couldn't directly observe how other people were performing. But Yeah, I have struggled with imposter syndrome since I think my sophomore year, and it's still something that I work through. And I think what really made me aware to like my insecurities, or like what triggered that for me, was realizing that although I was a very like competitive student in high school, and did get into like such a prestigious university, like everyone here like did the same thing. And so it kind of is like a reset. I just realized that everyone is kind of at my level, but there are definitely some students who I that came from like more affluent backgrounds, who had access to a lot more resources than I did. Like they did tutoring, like, or like they received a lot of like tutoring in high school. They attended like private institutions, and just that made me realize like how I think little access I had to certain resources just compared to other students. And that definitely set me back a bit.
So you're a senior and you still feel a sense of imposter syndrome. Is that right?
I do. And I think, so I'm a senior this year and I will be graduating soon. And I think I mentioned either at the start of this live stream or beforehand that I am scared about like what my life will look like immediately after graduation. That's something that I also feel like more insecure about or behind about, because although I did the year of learning online, I feel like now that I'm back on campus, the end feels very very near. And I think a lot of people who are also in my graduating class already have jobs lined up, or they've already been accepted into like graduate school programs, and I feel very behind. And so in a similar but different sense, I am still experiencing imposter syndrome, even at this level in my undergraduate career.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting for people to hear. Thanks for being so honest about that, because there's this idea that you can be uncomfortable but still be there. You know, being uncomfortable doesn't mean that you're not meant to be there or can't still be there. You can still be there and work through that. And you still continue to be successful and persist. That's a big thing. I have one more question just about being in a community where there's a lot of people who come from a lot of wealth and resources, and being in a college campus. And I think this is something maybe you all experience, being in a school that it can be expensive. You're around a lot of students who may come from places where they have more. Is that ever something that you have to manage or work through? Is that a challenge in any ways, in some ways?
I think for me, I like my freshman year of university, I took like seminar classes. And so I was in like small group, like discussion classroom settings. And I think in those settings, I realized like how different my background, my academic background is from like my peers. I realized that there are a lot of students who are supposed to be at like my level who have a lot of social capital. Like I mentioned, they attended really prestigious like private high schools in high school, or they have really good connections or had like access to private tutoring. And that in discussion, it really showed they were just a lot more confident sharing, no matter like whether what they talked about was the correct or the incorrect answer. They just had so much confidence. And I think that really like made me feel a lot more separated from their level.
Yeah.
That's something I really struggled with.
I'm going to give you a reframe. This is just because I really like being here with all of you. And just more so if you're open. So the way that I see it, Karen, and for all of you, I don't know if do you all feel this a little way, and do you relate to what Karen's saying? Does that resonate with all of you to some degree? You know, the way I look at it as there are all these students who have this social capital and have been afforded so much privilege in so many different ways, but you're in the same room with them. You're in the same place, and you are excelling at a level that is not only equal, but you can say, because you weren't afforded all of those different resources, is even more extraordinary. And the fact that you are where you are, other people see that and recognize that, because people get it. Like, people understand that, because you're all like, there's like an X factor for all of you. And that X factor is something that you just carry with you no matter what. And whether you get that internship or job this year, or you do something to really explore a passion and surround yourself with really amazing people who inspire you, like that, those relationships will yield something extraordinary, because it isn't a race, but who you are and what you've done and how you can continue to achieve is extraordinary, and it separates you and gives you something that nobody else who came from those other backgrounds has. And it's something I see. And when I interact with first gen students who have been able to overcome so many obstacles, I know they are unstoppable and that they are the most valuable people to have on a team. And that's not just me. These are so, like, I would work with any of you and be like, they're never going to quit because they know how to fight and they don't stop. And I get that. And they've got family and loyalty and culture and community. And it's like, that's deep. Like, so much about someone when they come from a background and environment where they've had to work so hard to get there. So, that's just me telling you, I think you're all extraordinary. Like, and I'm like a white male, like, from the suburbs. What do I know? What I know is I've toured the Valley. I've gone to these schools. I've met students. I've gone to these universities, and I've seen the people who are in positions of power and influence. And those who don't see that you're so valuable are people who you don't need to be around. But the majority do see that and recognize it and get that. And the ones who have been there and see you and meet you and get it, they want to elevate you and they want you to live your dream, and they will do everything they can to make it happen. So please trust that and I know you know this, but I'm just giving you some love from the outside for all of you, if you ever forget it for 1 second, because like, you kick ass. Like, I don't want to swear because I try to not swear, but like, what I'm saying, right? So anyway, I just don't want you to think any less of yourselves. And it's impossible to not feel those things, but I wanted to just share that. So anyway, I want to get back on track. I don't want to keep you too long, but I just respect you all so much. Okay. So I want to know, what was your most uncomfortable experience in college? Jesus, what was your most uncomfortable experience? And we'll try to be like real precise and quick with this and just cut to the core. Jesus, what was your most uncomfortable experience in college and how did you get through it?
I think my most uncomfortable experience was actually getting dropped from the university after my freshman year. It was tough because I had worked so hard to get there. It was tough to adapt. And after the first year, I kind of felt like I didn't belong. Like, all these other people, they're on the right track. I got dropped, I'm not good enough to be there. But I think what got me through it was, for sure, my friends, Alexis and Eric, were there for me. My friends back home, my family, they just reminded me that, like, I had worked so hard to be there. There was no reason why I should believe that, one bad year was the end. So yeah, when I returned, I had to boss up. I was on revenge season, and I think I've been tearing things up since then.
Nice. So let me just recap. So tell me, after your first year, you got dropped. What does that mean?
So that means my academics were too low to the standards that the university required. So they dropped me academically, which isn't like getting kicked out, but it's just like, you need to take a break. You need to reevaluate things, take time. And then I only took a quarter off. And I think after the quarter, I was ready to return. I think my GPA dropped below a 2.0, which was for me like crazy because I had never received a grade lower than like a B in high school. But it was just the adapting that was difficult for me. Freshman year, at least. A lot of it was imposter syndrome. At the time, I didn't even know what that was, but looking now that I know what it is, I was definitely going through that. A big part of it was also So just being homesick and just feeling like the transition from a small town to a big city was too much. Even though it was something I had been wanting, it was overwhelming at the time. It wasn't a bad time. I was having a lot of fun, but because of the difficulties I was having, I think my academics were put on the back burner and I didn't put as much emphasis. It wasn't my priority at the time of freshman year.
So then they forced you to take a quarter off. Then you came back, and what was different?
When they dropped me, I felt like I wasn't smart enough. I was like, oh, well, that's the end of my college career. That's where it ends, you know? I think my friends just reminding me that it was where I belonged. And myself just reminding me of all the things I did to get there in the first place was what just really changed my mindset. I came back just a whole different person, just ready to tackle whatever challenges were coming my way. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job since. I think my GPA is like at 3.6 now. Just a whole complete different student, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, you kicked ass. It's like a movie.
Yeah, I was on revenge season. I was mad and I had to take it out some way. I was like, oh, I gotta prove myself right and wrong, you know?
You should be proud of that. That's amazing. Was there someone who helped you during that time period to get back on your feet?
My advisor, well, she was my advisor during freshman year. She was reminding me that it happens to a lot of students, you know, I shouldn't feel like it's just me. Like a lot of students have difficulty transitioning, adapting to college, figuring out what they want to do, what career path they want to follow. So I think just a reminder that it's not just me in this position helped me change my mindset.
Were you part of camp as well?
I wasn't, just because I wasn't born in the United States. I didn't meet the requirements. But I was around a lot of people who were part of camp, so they definitely shared a lot of the resources and things that they learned from camp.
Were there places like the Ethnic Culture Center? Were there other places? Like, where did you find your places at UW?
I think there's one place, Odegaard Library. It's like the biggest library on campus, but after a while, like I got really comfortable there to the point where I would spend I still do like the majority of my afternoon there just doing homework. And it's just like a nice place where I can look around and see other people engaged in their work, you know, grinding. And it just motivates me to do the same when I'm in that building.
Nice. Yeah, that building's beautiful.
Yeah.
I've walked outside. What floor do you grind? What's the grind floor and what's the social floor?
Damn, the social floor is the bottom floor. That's where the homies that's where Alexis and the other homies pull up. But if I'm on my grind mode where I just don't want to be bothered, it's the top floor for sure.
Yeah. And what's the name of the library again?
It's a Odegaard Library.
How late's it open?
During the week it's open up until, I actually don't even know. Midnight, I want to say. Yeah, right. Midnight. And then Fridays and Saturdays, they close a little earlier, like at 6 p.m.
You close it down?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, Alexis, your most uncomfortable experience at UW and how you got through it.
Okay. I think it was last year during the pandemic. It was the middle of spring quarter, and I decided that it'd be best for me to take a break, like a Seuss. So that was very uncomfortable. My mind and my body was just telling me, Alexis, you can't be doing this right now. So it was in the middle of the quarter, and I, talked to my advisor, and I said, I think I need to take a break. I'm not concentrating. I'm not motivated. Small assignments that should be done easily, I can't even do. I can't function properly. And to the point where I thought it'd be best to take a quarter off and, seek therapy. That was challenging. I didn't think I'd have to do that. But luckily I had really good friends and family kind of just pushing me and, being there for me to kind of look forward to the next year. On top of that, I had to do something. So I thought it'd be good to find a job. And so I got a job at Costco, but then I had to quit that. And so that was kind of, embarrassing. And, you take the quarter off to focus on yourself and then having to quit the job because you just aren't the best at it. That's kind of an embarrassment. But I just had great friends, to support me and help me get through it. And I talked to my advisor and we made things happen. And I'm just fortunate that I'm still going to graduate on time, despite taking a quarter off. What really helped me was knowing that other people were kind of struggling with the same thing to some degree. That really helped a lot. So it helped me feel like I wasn't alone. There's one particular person who I won't name, but I coincidentally bumped into this person who graduated the same year as us. And she had gone through something similar to what I had gone through. And it was just, we met up at a certain restaurant and we talked, and that conversation really meant a lot, just because it helped me just realize that I'm not alone, and my story could be one that others could relate to. So that was very helpful.
Because it seems like you have everything going for you. Like, what could you possibly be upset about, or what could be troubling you? And I think that from the outsider, and I know that's not how the world works, but I think from the outside, that's how people probably would look at you and look at lots of other people. So realizing you need help, what do you do? So if there's someone else who feels like, they can relate to what you're saying, what do they do? How do they get help?
Yeah, I'd say first and foremost, be honest about it. I think that's one of the things I struggle with. I try to convince myself that, I don't need help. This is just, this will be fixed by, just sleeping better, or, doing things like that, just making excuses, trying to make it not as big of a deal as it should be. So just owning up to it and being honest, that was hard for me. And so I had to take a hit. My ego took a hit, luckily. And so I opened up to, friends and family. I started looking for, a good therapist to talk to. And I think just owning up to your mistakes and knowing that, or your vulnerabilities, and just knowing that you're not alone and that greater things can come because of this.
Yeah.
Not being afraid to reach out to. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big thing. And thanks again. I hope more people will reach out and get help, because once you learn things like the skills you learned, they're pretty awesome, right, Alexis?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I have a good therapist. I love my therapist. It's like really helped me. It took me a very long time. I heard I heard everybody else's problems, and other people's problems made me feel like I wasn't alone. But then it got to a point where I really lost the joy in what I was doing, and later in my life, and found a therapist and have worked through a lot of things that have helped me to love myself more and be much more centered. And the more that I appreciate myself and can be present and love myself, the easier it is for me to be a good listener and to connect, So it's a thing that most people don't learn. And I think also when it comes to certain cultures, getting therapy and getting help is something that's not always the first thing people do. It's more you get over it rather than getting help for it. So I'm just going to keep you like maybe 10 minutes over. I'm really sorry. There's a couple more things I need to get to, and you're like, this is gold. You're also great. And, I love that, man. Cause Alexis, you're like, on top of the world, and you still are, but that quarter off, like I look at that quarter off as an investment in you, right? It's, you strip away the academics and then you get to just focus on you. And like, how many times do you get to do that in your life? And the answer is rarely. Like, you're all so busy working so hard. How do you ever get to focus on you? So I wish that more people would do that, and they'd force more people to do this, because that part is what sustains you, sustains us. Eric, we'll go rapid fires, and I'll try not to dig too deep, because I got two more questions after this one. We'll go fast. All right. So Eric, what was your most uncomfortable experience at UW, and how did you get through it?
The most uncomfortable experience was sophomore year, coming back from Tahiti. I had lost two dear friends of mine, Dr. G and my counselor, Peter Hatta. And that was the year that I really wanted to get the grind on. I got that 4.0, but it came with a cost. It came with me kind of forgetting about my social life, forgetting a lot about, forgetting about a lot of the, the friends that I had at the moment, and just really focusing on myself. I wanted to prove something to the people that helped me find that motivation. But sadly, when the time came to show off my merits, I didn't have them anymore. So it was difficult for me to process that. And I think what I got from that was that, there are people, how you said earlier, that really want to see us succeed. And it's important to remember that those people exist, and, they're going to do whatever it takes to help you get through your tough times. Yeah.
Do you have more people who are in your corner? Have you found more people?
Yeah. I think after, processing a lot of what I was going through, I just had to open my eyes again and realize that, there's always going to be people like that there, counselors, family, friends.
Yeah. Was there someone in high school you said that really helped you?
I would say Upward Bound, Al and Laura.
Right.
They were the people that were directing Upward Bound at the moment. And they really felt like a mini family outside of high school.
Yeah, that's great. How did you get involved with Upward Bound?
So I've been involved with Karen's family since I got to Sunnyside. So then she's a very childhood friend figure of mine. And Carla, her older sister, was kind of a little older sister to me. So there was times where she would kind of just be taking me under her wing, and other students too. And she was a really big help. She showed me Upward Bound. And from there, I kind of just got invested in that.
We got to get Carla on here. We got to talk to Carla. I think I have to do a one-on-one with Carla and just do a quick. You think Carla would do that, Karen? Yeah.
She'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah. We gotta get Carla here because, Carla's making some things happen. She's been inspired a lot of people, even Alexis, right? Carla inspired you too?
I don't know if I really had a great relationship with Carla, but she seems pretty cool.
You want to get to know Carla, right?
Yeah.
Right. Cool. All right. We're gonna do another quick fast action. These fast actions are great. All right. Eric, your best experience in college?
I think my best experience is when I got accepted to the psych program. So part of that, why it was the best experience for me, wasn't necessarily because I got accepted. It's because of what that meant for me. So the psych program isn't really competitive at UW. It's not something that, a lot of people are trying to get into. But it was most certainly for me a stepping point where I know that I'm about to finish. I know that my college experience is coming to an end. So I just got to take a step back and realize wow, I made it here. I had the support of friends, family, and, just people who didn't give up. And, I didn't give up. And I think it was important for me to relish that fact.
That's awesome. And then are you also a camp advisor now?
I'm not a camp advisor, but I am looking to apply into something for camp in the future. So that's pending.
And then you just give me real quickly, you studied abroad. Tell me where you studied abroad and how much that was. Was that additional money? How do you pay for that?
So I studied abroad in Tahiti, which is in the French Polynesia. It's about maybe a 10-hour flight to get there. And the way that I paid for that was because earlier I had mentioned Dr. G really helped me get this one scholarship. I had applied for it. I worked my butt off to, make the best essay that I could. But at the end of the day, he pulled me aside in class one day and he's like, Eric, are you applying for the scholarship? I was like, yeah, I'm applying to it. He's like, you know what? He's like, I'm gonna get it for you. And I'm like, no, I was like, I told him immediately. I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to be handed this because, I have a connection. And he just looked me dead in the face. He's like, I'm not handing it to you. I'm recommending it. I'm recommending you to this. So then it was really important to hear that from him that, it wasn't like he was doing charity work. He was, he really believed in me. And I think that having that scholarship and financial aid, combined to help go over there, it paid for me. So I was able to go to Tahiti for free.
Wow. The beauty of your relationship with Dr. G and sharing this is that there's going to be someone who's going to hear this. and they're going to find their Dr. G, and they're going to apply, and they're going to do something extraordinary. So, your story, Dr. G's interactions with you, and the energy and the light of who he was and who he continues to be is something that continues to shine. So, I hope you could feel good about that, because it makes me feel good. I feel Dr. G. That's sweet, man. Alexis, your best experience.
My best experience was just knowing that I could return to the university the next year without having to, stay another extra year. So just having the great support of advisors and the major advisors, making things possible for me to, return in the fall. I think that was definitely a highlight. I was a little worried that perhaps I'd have to drop a major, take another year, but they were quite understanding, and I was very happy when they made those adjustments for me to return peacefully next year.
That's awesome. And then camp, your places at UW, camp, where else?
The IMA, the recreational center. So I like playing basketball there and just shooting around, breaking some ankles if I can, and then occasionally lifting weights with friends.
So you keep busy. And then the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity.
Yeah, the OMAD office, that's where our advisors are located. So that's always, a point of reference that it's very helpful to go to.
So you find your way there.
I do, yeah. Just at the IMA, just sometimes run into Susat Ode, and just, going to the OMAD office so I know where I can find people who can help me and support me.
Yeah, I think that's important. Where do you have those people? Jesus, your best experience at UW.
So my best experience was directly after my worst experience. It was returning the quarter that I returned after the break. I remember I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And I think I ended the quarter with 4.0ing every class that I took. So a 4.0 through the 3 classes. And I had never thought that was even achievable before then. And it just changed my whole mindset from there on forward.
That's the best, man. I want to be, it's like you got there and you're like, let's do it. And you just.
Exactly. I was on a mission. Yeah.
Yeah. That feels good. That's good. And who was the person that helped you when you got back to campus? Who was in your corner?
Before I left, I had one advisor. And then when I returned, she was no longer an advisor. So I got a new advisor, and he helped me a lot. He helped me figure out what major I wanted to go in, what classes I should be taking. He understood the struggles I faced before and tried to help me out where he could.
What's his name?
Just know him, Mr. Oliveira. Mr. Oliveira, yeah.
Right. He helped you in your corner. That's great.
Yeah, that's my guy.
That's great. Made you believe. That's the best. Karen, what's been your best experience, most memorable experience?
So kind of opposite Jesus, my best experience happened right before my worst experience. And my sophomore year here, I just felt that I was doing so well, like socially, academically, spiritually. I was only on campus for 2 quarters. This was right before the height of the pandemic happened. But those first 2 quarters, fall and winter, I really enjoyed the classes I was taking. I had returned from my freshman year with a lot more confidence as a student, as a person. And I dedicated a lot of time to the groups that I was involved in, whether that be the LDSSA or just my friend groups. And so I felt like emotionally I was at my best. Academically, I was at my best, and socially, I was at my best. And so I really appreciated those 2 quarters, and I still think about them as experiences that I hope will continue to motivate me now.
And who are your people that you turn to when you need a boost and a reminder most on campus?
So I have really good friends on campus who I met my freshman year in my freshman dorm. Their names are Sierra and Krishnan and Anika. And Sierra in particular is my best friend therapist. She really validates me when I have things to complain about, or she will remind me of what I'm capable of when I have when I experience a lot of self-doubt. She gives me my space to, or she provides space for me to just, feel and experience, and then re-motivate myself. And so I really appreciate her and what she does for me.
That's great. How do you meet her?
We were in the same freshman dorm, our first year on campus. So we were in the same hall. And so we met the first week of school, and we've been really close ever since.
That's great. And then mental health. Do you have any tips or advice for students on how to help manage their mental health?
I think it's important for you to be honest with yourself. Like, I've struggled with my mental health these past few years. And I think that first step is really admitting to yourself that you're going through a rough patch. And second, I think I mentioned community and having a strong support system earlier. I think it's important to reach out to the people who are close to you and who care about you, and who will remind you that, you need to take care of yourself. And so my advice is just to, to be honest with yourself, and then to tap into the resources that you have. And I think for me, when I think of resources, the first thing that comes to mind are the people in my support system, in my community, that I feel confident and close to. My campus, and I'm sure like other universities as well, like there's the Bridge Counseling Program that I have here on campus. There's the CAPS, it's the Counseling and Psychological Services. And through those programs, I'm myself, I'm looking for like a therapist right now. And so just to try to get a handle on your mental health, or to reach out to people who will help you.
I think we can all benefit from that. And I wish it was part of everyday life in high school and in college, because it's as important as exercising. And there isn't a lot of space for that. But I think especially high achievers who get so much outside affirmation from other people, it's very easy to depend on that. And when you don't have that, it's very hard to find that joy internally. Mm-hmm. And I see that. Do you see that happen to a lot of students at Stanford?
I think so. Yeah, I see it a lot. I think the imposter syndrome is very much related. There's also the duck syndrome, which for people who aren't familiar, it's kind of the idea that like you'll give the impression that you're like performing well and that everything is okay on the surface, but underneath the surface, you're like really struggling just to stay afloat. And so a lot of people on campus like give off that like impression that everything is fine when really they're struggling. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we're all supposed to be very high achieving and like very well-rounded academic students. And it's very difficult for a lot of people to just come to terms with the fact that it's okay to be struggling academically or personally. And that, it's true. People are only giving that impression. It's really important to find safe spaces where you can talk about these struggles with other people. And then sooner or later, you'll be able to come to that realization that you aren't alone in that. And you'll feel more empowered and more validated in your experiences.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I think all of your experiences of, facing a challenge, getting into college is just one part of it. Paying for college is another part. Then I think the hardest part is actually doing college, being here, right? Being away from home. And I know I've got one more question, but I just wanted to ask this for those students who are afraid of leaving the Valley and going to Seattle or going to a different state. Karen, what would you tell them to help them?
First, I decided to go out of state because I never really made that decision. It was just something I always wanted to do. But I encourage students who are more hesitant about that to really, tap into their family, and their friendships, or just to make sure that they know they still have connections back home. I think it's really important to take risks. And I think that there are a lot of opportunities that are available to you, a lot more opportunities that are available to you, like once you step outside of not just your comfort zone, but like more specifically, like if outside of like your home state or what is familiar. And so really just remind yourself of what you want to achieve, and look for resources and look for opportunities outside of what you're comfortable. I think And that includes going to school out of state. I highly encourage it. I'm a strong advocate for it. I love it.
Yeah. You found your home away from home.
I did. The first week I was here, I was very, very happy and felt very supported.
Do you, or Jesus or Alexis or Eric, do you have anything to say to someone who's reluctant, who's a little scared to leave home and to make that trip?
Yeah, don't be afraid. And if there's anything someone should take away from this, is that even if things don't go according to plan, you're not alone, and there are ways in which you can make things better. So yeah, I'd just say definitely don't be afraid and take risks.
Yeah. What about you, Eric?
I was always like really wanting to get out and go far away to university. So it was always about, like getting out of my comfort zone. But now looking back at it, I would really say that, for someone that's in that position, that's like reluctant to leave, I would say that change is inevitable. There's always going to be change in your life. And if I've learned anything, is that you should take control of what change is going to happen. Have control of your change. And that's really important to like learn, because you're going to go through so much, and whatever control that you can keep in your life, that's really important.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've all made a lot of incredible decisions. You've been through a lot. You've had these incredible challenges. You've overcome them. So I would love to wrap up with one last piece, one last question. And I'm going to thank you all. I'm really grateful for our time here tonight. So Eric, if you could go back in time and see senior Eric, high school senior Eric, Sunnyside Senior High School, walking around, somehow you're in a time machine, and you're like, hey, hey, high school Eric, it's me. I'm a senior at UW. I got to tell you something. What would you tell you that would have helped you?
I think I would have told myself, don't be afraid that you're not going to be worth it. I think I would tell myself that you have value. You have value, and it's important for you to just go big or go home. If you're not gonna, give it your all, then, kind of like what my parents used to tell me, you're gonna waste your time. So I would definitely kind of like be hard on myself, and I would tell myself, don't be lazy, just go big.
Nice. Alexis, if you could bump into high school senior Alexis, Sunnyside Senior High, hey, Alexis, come here. I got to talk to you, man. What would you tell you?
I'd say, well, first, get a good haircut. I still haven't figured that out. But secondly, I'd say everything's going to be okay. Yeah. I feel like that's one thing I'd say. Just everything's going to be all right. And just make sure you continue to, maintain good friendships. That's always important. So, yeah.
And it's okay. It's always going to be okay, right? Like people don't get that. Like it's going to be okay. Like you really believe that, right, Alexis?
No, yeah. Things from the things that I've experienced, it always seems like there is someone, a coincidence, or a resource that's always willing to push you in the right direction.
Yeah. It always works out. Who knows? Maybe this conversation will come up and someone will be like, hey, I saw that conversation that you were part of. And hey, man, I just want to tell you, that really inspired me. And, then it starts a conversation. And it's like, even this one of like, it's going to be okay. I don't know. I think the world works that way. So, Jesus, Jesus, if you can go back to Sunnyside Senior High School, you get to see you, Senior Jesus. Senior Jesus sounds very serious. You get to see Senior Jesus. What would you tell you, high school Senior Jesus?
I'd probably tell myself to not let my fears hold me back. And I tell myself that there's going to be a few rough patches in the future, but they're all going to serve the purpose of bettering myself and making myself ready for future complications and endeavors.
Yeah, you're going to bounce back. Hey, if you had to do it over again, would you still have that tough first quarter, that first year, and bounce back? Like, would you change anything about that?
I honestly wouldn't, because the student I became after it is just the student I've always wanted to be. So I'm thankful for it, as strange as it may sound.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like it changed your life. The tough stuff, man. The tough stuff's the best stuff, you know? It's,
Yeah,
it's
undoubtedly.
yeah, it's valuable. Karen, you're walking down the hall and you're a senior. You get to see you. You go, "Psst." What would you tell high school senior Karen?
True. I think that I'd tell myself to first surround myself with good people. I'm a people person, get a lot of inspiration from them. Second, I would be sure to tell myself to really prioritize my mental health. I think everyone should, even if you don't experience rough patches, it's always important to take care of yourself. And I think that comes first. And then you can really find the strength to take care of your other responsibilities and work towards your goals. Find a therapist early if you need one. I would tell her that.
Yeah, that's good advice. High school Karen, thanks you. And everybody else who's watching this would thank you. And I would just appreciate all of you being so open and honest and vulnerable, and just your experiences are unique because they're yours, but so many people I know go through this, and to see you as seniors and a junior going through this is really powerful. If there's any students who want to reach out to you, we're going to have your contact info. Are you comfortable with them asking you questions? Is that okay? Is it weird if they reach out to you? Are you going to be like, why are you reaching out? That's a dumb question. Or are you going to, are all questions good questions for you? Everything. Yeah. These people want to help you. They're here to support you. That's why they've given all of this time and energy. And as well, I'm here. If I could help any of you, Eric, Alexis, Jesus, Karen, like check out my LinkedIn, see the stuff I do. I mean, I just want you all to be so happy and live a life that just aligns with your light and just gives you joy. I think you're all amazing and wonderful, and I'm grateful to have the chance to be with you. So thanks for being so generous. And for all of you who've been watching this and participating, so grateful to be in your corner. I'm Harlan Cohn. This has been a college conversation with Sunnyside Senior High School graduates attending the University of Washington and Stanford University. I'm Harlan Cohn. I'm grateful to be in your corner, and I look forward to continuing this conversation. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, panelists. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.